Welcome to Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks. He's Andy Behrens. He's Sal Vetri. I am Jason Fitz. It's week 8. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to get you caught up and ready for Thursday Night Football. And you know what, guys? It's going to feel good. It's going to feel good because it feels normal. This week, there's no bye weeks. There's no London games. You don't have to set your alarm for 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday to get your fantasy roster set. Everything is right there. It's normal for you. You guys can get involved. We're going to get a bunch of your questions in with the hashtag AskFFL. That's AskFFL. We'll get some questions in from the YouTube chat. Also, got a lot we're going to get to, not the least of which are mega trades that continue to impact the fantasy market. Before we get to the actives, inactives, all the injuries, all the everything going on, Sal Vetri, we had a big trade this week. Mahomes-Hopkins leaves the just awful, putrid Tennessee Titans to head to the Kansas City Chiefs. Your expectations, good sir?
Yeah, my expectations are I like this. I like this for Hopkins for sure. I think I like this for everybody involved, especially players that get left behind in Tennessee have a little bit more opportunity. But Hopkins, if you look at him for the season, yeah, his stats aren't going to look great. That's partly the situation and partly the fact that he came into the year with a tear in his knee and he was playing through it. Never played 50% of the snaps until week 6 after the bye. And since then, it looks like he's had a full-time role. He looks healthy. If the Chiefs are trading for him, he probably passed the medicals. And quietly with the Titans, even though he was injured in 3 out of his last 4 games, he led the team in targets. He had a top 20 fantasy performance in there while being limited. So I'm looking forward now. He's the #1 receiver on this team. He'll open up some and maybe alleviate some pressure, both mentally and also out there in terms of defense for Xavier Worthy to operate as well on the underneath at times. So I think this looks good for Hopkins. This week, we'll see what his snap share looks like. But moving forward, I think he has the upside to be a top 24 wide receiver rest of the season, attached to Mahomes, and actually give some life to this passing attack.
I cannot imagine what it feels like to be a wide receiver, realizing you're going from catching balls from Will Levis to Patrick Mahomes. That's all I'll say. You guys can get involved. Hashtag AskFFL. Again, drop the questions in the YouTube chat. Why are we here with you? Because it's Thursday night, which means we have Thursday Night Football. Let's get to the board so you know what's coming at you. You got the Minnesota Vikings at 5-1 taking on the Rams at 2-4, I should say. The Rams at this point are a 2.5-point underdog. The over-under on this one, 47.5. Let's take a look at the actives, inactives, because there's a couple of big names out there. Cooper Kupp, active. Puka Nacua, active. Activated for injury reserve today after a week 1 knee injury. TJ Hawkinson out. Andy, Nacua expectations are...
Yeah, listen, we can't play scared, Fitz, and I don't think I would do it here with Puka Nacua. If I had waited 6 weeks for him, he's probably starting for me. Now, I had a guy reach out to me on social after I said some nice stuff about Nacua, and he was like, well, hey, I'm starting T. Higgins and Jaden Reed over him. Well, okay, I get that. Those are not the options that most of us have, right? I'm certainly not playing any of our recent waiver wire receivers over Puka. Hard to imagine the scenario in which a fantasy manager has a better option than the guy that you drafted in the 2nd round. He caught 105 balls for nearly 1,500 yards last year, and if the Rams are playing him, I am playing him. I'm willing to accept the possibility of a limited role because I also know what the high end of the range of outcomes looks like, and it wins me the week. So some of you might need to wrestle with like a floor versus ceiling debate. Maybe you think you're the underdog and you need to go for ceiling. In that case, it has to be Nacua. Also, I gotta say, this game has the feel of like a all hands on deck situation for the Rams, right? Like, if we fall to 2-5, we're selling, and if we get to 3-4, hey, we're tied with the Niners. Anything can happen. Bottom line here for me, I think we're getting everything that Puka's got tonight, and it's enough for me.
I think timing also, quickly I'll point out, matters on this, because remember, after this game, the Rams get the benefit of the mini bye. If they're right on the fence on playing an injured player, you don't play them on Thursday because you have a full week and a half to get them right. They would not play these guys if these guys weren't ready to play. So I'm with you. I think that's smart analysis. All right, let's get into other players to watch in this game. Andy Behrens, give me a name.
Well, yeah, let's take a moment to appreciate just the season that Sam Darnold is having. Which maybe that shouldn't surprise us, given that his head coach, Kevin O'Connell, is just one of the all-time quarterback whisperers. Darnold is currently setting career highs in just all the important stuff. Passer rating, yards per attempt, completion percentage. He needs only 7 touchdown passes in 11 games to set his single season high. So life is good with Justin Jefferson, sure, but Darnold is also making 2 or 3 just phenomenal throws each game. And he's kind of big game hunting too. His average depth of target this season is 9.7. That's among the highest in the league. And yet, this week opened with weird and sort of lightly sourced internet speculation that Matthew Stafford, tonight's opponent, would be traded to Minnesota. How can you not love the NFL Wild League? But also, it's just kind of wildly disrespectful to Darnold, who's been great all year. Like, he's had one bad game, and his team won it anyway. Darnold should cook the Rams this week. That's a defense that's giving up almost 8 yards per pass attempt. They rank bottom third in yards and in scoring. This is a start him with confidence situation, I think. We have a top 10 fantasy week incoming.
I just love the fact that we're less forgiving. I mean, Sam Darnold's had less bad games this year than Patrick Mahomes. That's all I'm saying. All right, I'll give you a name to watch in this game, and it's all about the defense he's taking on. Jordan Addison is my name to watch in this game. You mentioned Justin Jefferson, but he's not the only one cooking. And what gets really interesting to me here is the defense that the Rams use. Rams use single high safety, the 5th highest in the NFL. They use it a lot. And that means that a lot gets open over the middle on them. And we saw that with Brock Bowers last week. Well, look at Jordan Addison in his rate against single high safety. His usage rate goes up to 19.7%. It goes up drastically against that style of defense. So there's going to be holes for Addison and ability to come in and catch the ball. So I like this a lot. We'll get a YouTube question right out of the gates because I'm talking about Jordan Addison. Joseph just asked, Puka or Jordan Addison? Sal, before you give us your player to watch, would you go Puka or Jordan Addison? And remember, I just said Jordan is the player to watch.
Yeah, I mean, all that analysis was beautiful. I loved it all. I'm going to go with Puka Nacua here. Puka Nacua, I believe that they already brought him back too quick once, Puka Nacua, this year, and he re-injured himself. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again.
That's smart analysis by you, but I still like Jordan Addison overall in this game. Sal, give me a player to watch so that I can eat crow over here.
Yeah, no, my player to watch here is going to be Aaron Jones in the Minnesota Vikings backfield. It's been like a really wild past few weeks for Aaron Jones. It goes from like, is this guy going to go on IR? Then he gets ruled week to week with a hip injury. Now all of a sudden it's a hamstring injury. And then he's practicing, playing in the game, and seeing a season high 88% of the backfield carries last week. He goes for 116 yards and a touchdown. When he's out there and he's finishing games, it's just inevitable this season with Aaron Jones. No matter as a pass catcher out of the backfield, he's top 10 in every single usage metric, efficiency. Same thing on the ground this year, very quietly putting up one of the better fantasy seasons. And now he gets the Rams on a short week, which usually we see teams lean on the run, especially the Vikings this year, a pretty run-heavy team, behind a good offensive line, should play from a positive game script, neutral at worst here. And the Rams allow the 3rd most rushing yards per game this year. I'm watching Aaron Jones in every situation tonight.
Yeah, and it's rare that we get a win-win, by the way. It should be mentioned here. At this point, it looks like the Packers are very happy with what they have at the running back position, and the Vikings are too. It's rare that we see everybody sort of kumbaya together. A YouTube question coming in here from Luis Gomez. Which quarterback, Sam Darnold or Caleb Williams? All right, Andy Behrens, what are you going to say here? You just praised Sam Darnold, but we all know that you're a Bears fan. What you going to do about it?
This is unfair. I should recuse myself here. I have them both top 10 options this week. I think the Washington defense is a great matchup, but man, one of these guys is throwing to Justin Jefferson, and that's kind of where I err. I want to go with Sam Darnold here. It's the Rams. Again, they're giving up almost 8 yards per pass attempt. The Bears have great weapons. Caleb is playing really well. This will be a big test. But I kind of know what I'm getting from Darnold at this point. I get a little rushing upside, too.
All right, let's get to some opportunity to make everybody a little bit of money. It's Bring the Props, and I don't want to brag, but I'm going to. It was a sweep last week. All 3 of us got our props. So we're going to give you some props that we like going into this week. I am going to take Matt Stafford under on the 237.5 passing yards. And, this is no great offense to Matt Stafford, who we all know is fine. He's a very good quarterback. This is everything about the fact that, frankly, we know that week in and week out, the Vikings put quarterbacks in blenders. They're going to do that again. So Matt Stafford under on this. I mean, yes, he's got weapons back, and hopefully those weapons catch the ball. I hear you on all of that, but, man, I wouldn't want to be taking on this defense, this defensive coordinator, and this defense that disguises everything, trying to get these guys worked back in and trying to get over 237.5. I don't like that at all. I take Stafford with the under, which means I hate fun. Sal, what do you got for a prop you like?
Yeah, I'm looking at the other quarterback in this game, Sam Darnold, and I'm taking him for over a half an interception thrown. So I think Darnold throws a pick tonight. He's actually thrown a pick despite having a great season. Andy said a lot of awesome things about Darnold, and I agree with most of that. He's thrown a pick still in 5 out of 6 games, all but one game this year. He ranks top 10 in interceptable passes thrown, so he's still putting the ball in harm's way, more than average right now. And now he's going into a short week, a lot of chaos on short weeks, personnel and game plans maybe not all bulletproof from having a week of practice. And the Rams quietly this year, their defensive line is getting healthier. They're averaging an interception a game right now. I think Darnold drops back around 30, maybe even 35 times in this game if the Rams can keep up. And if that's the case, I like him to throw at least one interception tonight.
The YouTube chat likes Sal. He gets a I Heart You 10,000, says, shout to Sal. I've been with him since the beginning. Congrats on the success and staying humble. You obviously don't know the same Sal we know. Like, only green M&Ms. Like, he's got rules. There's just so many. No, Sal is the best. All right, Andy, give us a prop that you like. Andy, by the way, for the season, Sal's gotten 4 of these. Andy 3, me too. So, Andy, give us one that you like.
Yeah, listen, I know that it's kind of a bit when I take these kicker props, and I'm going to do it again, but I promise this one has a real purpose behind it, a double purpose. Give me Will Reichard over 7.5 points tonight. I just want to mention that Reichard is perfect on the year on both his field goal attempts and his extra points. He's hit 4 from 50 plus. He drilled a 57-yarder last week that would have been good from a mile. His team ranks 6th in the NFL in scoring. The total in this game is 48.5. And again, he never misses. But the other reason that I bring up this prop, aside from the easy money involved, is that Reichard is only 14% rostered in Yahoo fantasy leagues. This man is the all-time scoring leader in college football, and he has been a flawless pro to this point, tied to a scoring machine. So out here, you know, in real America, where we still have kickers on our fantasy teams, Reichard should not be available in any league. He should be rostered everywhere. This is a national coming out party for Reichard tonight. Let's go.
Thought we talked about kicker props. Thought we had a whole conversation. There was.
We did.
I mean, I don't. Okay, I don't know what we're doing anymore. This is what we're doing on FFL. We're at the kicker prop stage of the season and never look back. All right, we'll never look back from that, and I forgive you, Andy, already. Let's get this a believe, make believe. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna figure out certain players and see if you believe or make believe. Sal, let me start you with this one. When I say Drake May, do you say believe or make believe?
Oh, I believe a lot right now for Drake May. We've seen 2 weeks of this guy as a starter, and he's completing 66% of his passes, above the league average, 7.5 yards per attempt, above the league average, and he's been a top 10 fantasy option in both leagues at the quarterback position. But outside of his own value for fantasy, I do think that he's kind of like your get-out-of-jail-free card for Patrick Mahomes drafters, Anthony Richardson, heck, maybe even C.J. Stroud. But besides that, he looks good back there. Like, the whole reason that they didn't want to play him was we don't want to ruin the kid's confidence, crumble under pressure behind a bad offensive line. Well, he's under pressure 41% of the time in his 2 starts. That's a lot, but he's evading the pressure. He's scrambling. He's being able to keep his eyes downfield and extend plays. A couple of checkdowns last week to JaMychal Hasty went for big gains because he was able to keep his eyes downfield. He's not only leading sustainable drives, but they're ending in touchdowns. 5 touchdown passes through 2 weeks. That's helping the whole offense. I believe in this Patriots offense for fantasy now moving forward, a couple of those pieces, and it's because of Drake May.
I just love this pick for New England long term. All right, Andy Behrens, when I say Baker Mayfield at this point with this version of Tampa Bay, believe or make believe?
Yeah, I already regret that I flagged Baker Mayfield for this because I love the season he's having, right? I feel like I was an early believer in Baker Mayfield in Tampa last year too. He was a pillar of my super flex planning entering this season, and it was going so well. He's leading the league in touchdown passes, career highs across the board, completing 70% of his throws. But there is not a single quarterback in the game who could preserve their fantasy value after losing a pair of receivers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right? And the Bucs are saying a lot of the right things about believing in Jalen McMillan and Trey Palmer, and we're going to put them in positions to succeed, etc. But you just lost 2 guys who were playing at an all-pro level. Mike Evans going to the Hall of Fame someday. He's out for a month. Chris Godwin is out for the year. We can't adequately replace them with Cade Otton and a bunch of supporting receivers. So for me, Baker Mayfield with this current receiving room moves from a believe to the make-believe side of the ledger. And I think in a 1 quarterback league, he's just a drop right now.
So, since you're the king of definitive statements and not hedging at all, I'll give you another one here. Tank Bigsby. When I say Tank Bigsby, believe, make believe.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a serious hedge here. Tank is a believe for me, but with caveats. Like, the surface stats look great. The underlying stats actually look better. Bigsby has rushed for over 90 yards in 3 of his last 4 games. He's over 6 yards per carry on the season. How about 4.6 yards after contact per attempt? That's the best in the league. 25 missed tackles forced already on just 67 rush attempts. He's been outstanding for Jacksonville. But here's the problem. It's that when Bigsby is not on the field, when they have to throw the ball, like that is a critical issue. He's caught 1 pass on the season on 2 targets. This is why he got outsnapped by Dearness Johnson in the loss to the Bears a couple weeks ago. He's a player who needs a particular type of game script if he's going to help you at all. And as we look ahead at Jacksonville's schedule, well, here's how it looks: Green Bay, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Detroit, Houston. Like, there's not a lot of opportunities there where the run is just going to be in play all game for Jacksonville in all likelihood. So for that reason, you're never going to see me go all in on Bigsby in the ranks, even if I'm a big believer in his skills.
All right, Sal, show him how it's done. When I say believe or make believe, and I say Najee Harris's recent production continuing for the rest of the season, you say?
I say make believe. And look, this is nothing to take away from what Najee Harris just did the last 2 weeks. 100 yards in each game, a touchdown in each game. Over the last 2 weeks, he has 7 runs of 10+ yards. That leads the NFL. His first 5 games, he had 0 such runs of 10+ yards. So he's playing great right now. He looks awesome. But my concerns moving forward for Najee Harris, even with Russell Wilson, I know they just put up 37 points. It's the fact that this backfield is starting to get their other guys back. Jaylen Warren came back now in his 2nd game last week. Saw 50% of the snaps, a split backfield in terms of snaps, saw 15 opportunities. Like, we know he's going to have that role, but more importantly, he ran twice as many routes as Najee Harris. Now on the season, with Jaylen Warren active, Najee's barely seeing about a target and a half per game compared to nearly 4 per game when Warren was out. That's important because when Najee isn't finding the end zone, which he hasn't done in the majority of the games this year, you're probably looking at 7 or 8 fantasy points because the passing game role is basically now gone. And the other issue here, Cordarrelle Patterson. He's going to come back at some point, and it might only be 2 or 3 or 4 touches a game from his ankle injury. But when he's back, it's only going to dilute the touches and upside for Najee Harris even more. I'm trying to sell him right now. This is another good matchup this week against the Giants. 6-point favorite, bad run defense. But after that, look to try and shop Najee.
All right, let's get to some great questions you guys are throwing in. Again, hashtag AskFFL. You can get in on the YouTube chat as well. We've got some questions here coming in from you guys. Make your pick. We'll help you make those picks. The first question comes from Dustin, and Dustin says, start 2 PPR league, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, D. Hopkins, Tank Dell, Andy Behrens. What do you say?
Yeah, first of all, I'm only starting 1 of the Buffalo receivers. In a full PPR league, I'm going to go Khalil Shakir. I just think that's a steadier role week to week. I think Keon Coleman's going to be fine. I think he's going to survive the Amari Cooper acquisition just fine. But really, as he's going to be a high variance guy. So I want Shakir there. And I think rest of season, you're probably going to be playing DeAndre Hopkins as long as he's healthy, but not this week. I'm going to go Tank Dell, even coming off getting shut out last week. I feel a little bit burned by him, but man, they need him. They need him in a serious way. And the defense this week, the matchup that they're facing against Indianapolis, it's so much friendlier than what they had last week.
All right, let's get the next question in from Ronnie, which I love does come with some contingencies, some qualifiers. Ronnie says, Gardner Minshew, Drake May, or Jameis Winston, start one. I don't want to talk about why. I just want to hear what to do. 6 points per touchdown. I love the fact that he's like, look, we all know how I got here. So what the heck do I do with this? Sal, what's he do?
Man, I can't believe you have all 3 of these quarterbacks right now. If this is a standard league, though, no matter what, I want to be going with Drake May here. I kind of know what I have to this point in Gardner Minshew. And if we're talking about upside weeks, I'm not confident in that. Drake May, though, we've seen the last couple of weeks, especially when you add in there the 6-point passing touchdown. The guy has 5 passing touchdowns the last few weeks. They're probably going to play from behind in most games. And I know it's a tough matchup against the Jets, but you're probably looking at least 30, probably closer to 35 dropbacks for Drake May. You're going to have the scramble upside there as well. And yes, I think Jameis is an exciting player. On his 1 drive last week, he scored a touchdown, but the personnel there isn't exciting. And overall, that offensive line for Cleveland's not healthy. By default, Drake May, but also I feel confident in that 2 back-to-back top 10 quarterback finishes.
If only you could start Gardner on your defense. I think it was, 3 interceptions, a fumble, and 2 sacks last week would be perfect for your defense. All right, next question comes from Rob. I could say because I'm a fan. Rob says, okay, here it is. Williams and Moore, Richardson and Downs. Also have Geno Smith available. Who do I play? Help! Andy, who does he play?
I mean, if we're determined to play one of these stacks, it's got to be Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. First of all, as good as Josh Downs is, there's a huge gap between him and Moore. Also, it's really hard to start Anthony Richardson right now, and I understood the argument for him in the preseason, but man, when the rushing stats are there and when he hits a 60-yard throw, it's great, but I mean, he's completing less than 50% of his passes, doesn't look great. This is a really good setup for Caleb this week. He's playing well, and again, DJ Moore you got to go with. I wouldn't get proactive with Geno Smith right now either. Probably not going to get DK Metcalf in this one, and it's a difficult matchup against Buffalo anyway.
All right, we'll get back to more questions you guys have, but in the meantime, let's get to some injury news out there. Take a look at some of the injury reports coming out of. We'll blow through a bunch of these. Jaden Daniels, ribs. Bucky Irving, toe. Jamison Williams, suspended. Chris Olave with a concussion, and that's just page 1. Page 2 will give you more big names that you're used to seeing. Zay Flowers, Deebo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Dallas Goedert. I guess, Sal, all these injuries, and we know about so much of it, but is there anybody left to play in San Francisco? What are you supposed to do if you've got 49ers galore?
Yeah, it's rough right now. I mean, Brock Purdy might be down to his 5th and 6th options in the passing game, depending on the Friday injury reports. It does seem like Deebo, Kittle practicing in limited fashion, Kittle with a foot sprain now. Deebo, though, this might just be one of those gamesmanship things from Kyle Shanahan, trying to have the opposing defense plan for Deebo, a very tough player to scheme out, because Deebo just had pneumonia. I mean, this is something that's like a 2 to 4 week recovery for most people. An athlete with a lot of care around him may be quicker, but I'm a little bit skeptical that limited participation was really limited at all. So I think going into this game, yeah, you're looking at guys like Ricky Pearsall off the waiver wire as a legitimate starting option, as maybe the team's #1 receiver opposite George Kittle at tight end. And at this point, you just got to hope that these guys get healthy coming out of their week 9 bye, maybe get McCaffrey back going into week 10.
I got friends skipping leg day because they got a hangnail and Deebo's out here with pneumonia. All right, let's turn to our fantasy game changers this week, powered by Ram Trucks, where we're identifying some of the most impactful players in one of the top fantasy matchups on the schedule. We picked a huge game, Seahawks, Bills, Sunday afternoon. Could see some rain in this one, but still a nice total. 47 is the point total on this, the over-under. Bills favored by 3.5. I feel like I kind of auditioning for a weatherman gig. There might see some rain on this one. Andy, give us somebody to you that's a fantasy game changer.
Yeah, bring on that rain. I'm starting Kenneth Walker in a few places. He's my game changer. He did begin his practice week with a DNP, still dealing with last week's illness, but he is also coming off a game in which he scored 2 touchdowns, delivered another 93 scrimmage yards. Walker is up to 7 touchdowns on the year in just 5 games. He's averaging 4.7 yards per carry. And suddenly he's one of the more unstoppable receiving threats at his position. He has 23 catches in 5 games, and he made a tremendous touchdown catch a week ago. This Sunday, home against the Bills, that is a team that has given up numbers to every good running back they've faced this year. Buffalo's allowing the 8th most fantasy points to opposing backs, 5.1 yards per carry to opposing backs. We have a huge week from Walker incoming. This is a top 5 fantasy setup.
All right, Sal, give me somebody that's a fantasy game changer for you.
Yeah, I'm looking on the Bills side of the ball with their brand new wide receiver, the veteran Amari Cooper, who in his debut last week, he only ran 12 routes for this team, but they were purposeful routes. Scores a touchdown, earns 5 targets on just 12 routes. Now, that's probably not going to sustain moving forward a 42% target rate, but the more important thing is he should see a larger role this week in a game where there should be points, and every single rep and snaps he gets with Josh Allen, both in practice and in the game, is going to go a far way in terms of his production. But not only is his direct production in terms of his routes, his yardage, his potential touchdowns important for this game, but it's what he does indirectly for the rest of the guys. Khalil Shakir no longer has to be a potential #1 wide receiver, a role that he really doesn't fit into on this team. Now he can comfortably be the #2. Keon Coleman doesn't have to be the rookie second-round pick that all of a sudden has all these expectations to maybe be a #1 receiver. No, now he can settle into the wide receiver 3 role and develop his game. So both directly and indirectly, I think Amari Cooper's a game changer against Seattle.
I'll give you one from me, and that's DK Metcalf. And this is set up by a lot of what Andy just said. Now, DK, obviously some injury concerns, but I'm going to bank that that's also some gamesmanship itself. when they try and allocate the resources that it will require to slow down Kenneth Walker, which they won't be able to do, then they're going to have to suddenly deal with DK being in an isolated situation. Look at the targets for DK. This is what's really interesting this year. If you look week to week, 6 week 1, 12 week 2, 7, 11, 6, 13. This is a pattern. He didn't have enough targets last week. I think when Geno knows he didn't get the ball to him enough, he gets it to him a lot the next week. So I think a big week for DK coming in the world of targets and opportunities against this Buffalo defense. He'll be able to get some catches. So that's my game changer for there. All right, let's get to some bold fantasy predictions, gentlemen. This is Andy. Again, I want to explain how this works. This is where you make a big definitive statement, okay? So a bold statement, and I'll start here because I remember being at the Super Bowl for Yahoo Sports. I was talking to a bunch of different Chiefs players, and everybody knows my Raiders fandom. And I was joking with some of the guys that I've interviewed over the years that know me. And one of the guys, as we were standing on the field talking, said, man, I'll tell you something. This team is never going to forget Christmas Day, ever. That's when the Raiders went in and beat the Chiefs. So last time Kansas City won. Kansas City has been sitting there thinking about this game ever since that game happened. The Raiders are objectively just terrible right now, and Kansas City has struggled offensively. They're not going to struggle in this game. Mahomes has struggled this year. He's not going to struggle in this game. Why? Because they've had this one circled on their calendar. And a lot of times we see teams sort of pull off. That is not going to be what happens here. I think the Chiefs are looking to try and put up 40 or 50 points. Mahomes is going to absolutely go off, and an angry, angry football team is going to release the demons on my beloved Raiders. And I'm going to sit there and watch all of it because it's the only time I get to see what a good football team looks like. It's not my team either. See, that's a bold prediction. Mahomes gets right, lays it on. Andy, give us a bold prediction.
Yeah, listen, it's possible that I went a little bit too bold last week because the people have been coming at me with some Tank Dell complaints, and I understand why. Look, Fitz pressured me into being a little recklessly bold. I will be better. I'm gonna be a little bit more conservative this week, and let's just take Jordan Mason as the overall RB1, number one RB of the week. He's heading into a matchup with Dallas. The Cowboys, of course, have been abysmal against the run this year, as we've discussed at various points on various shows. They're giving up 4.5 yards per carry, over 140 rushing yards per game allowed, 10 rushing touchdowns in just 6 games. And then you look at the state of the receiving core for San Francisco, right? Ayuk down for the year, Debo with pneumonia, Kittle has the foot issue, Jennings a hip. Kyle Shanahan is definitely riding Jordan Mason in this one. We can expect 100+ yards, probably 2 touchdowns.
All right, Sal, follow that up with even more boldness.
Oh, man, 100+ yards and 2 touchdowns. You're reading my mind, Andy. Javonte Williams last week, a week ago, Thursday night, we watched him for the first time in his career score 2 touchdowns, go for 100+ yards with 2 touchdowns, and I think he's going to do it yet again. Back-to-back weeks, he's going to go out there and do it because this week he faces the Carolina Panthers, and the Panthers right now are a run funnel on defense this year. Last week, Brian Robinson in basically one half a play, 70 yards and a touchdown. The week before was Bijan Robinson's get-right week, over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Panthers are allowing the most rushing yards per game, and right now Javonte's role is good. Like, there was times earlier this year, guys like Tyler Bidet, they were trying to take touches away. He gets hurt. Audric Estime, give him some work. He fumbles too many times. It's Javonte Williams' role the past month. 16.5 opportunities per game and a 17% target share. At the running back position, that would rank second on the year behind only Alvin Kamara. The role is really good. The matchup is strong. I'm expecting 100 yards and 2 touchdowns again for Javonte. Have him in your lineups.
All right, guys, let's huddle up. It is time to get ready for some hurry up offense, where we get as many questions in with 25 seconds on the clock as we can for each one. The first one comes from Jason, great name, from the Yahoo Fantasy app. Addison or Deontay Johnson? What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I can't go Deontay, not with Bryce Young back at quarterback, right? We have a medley of issues, injury issues to deal with Deontay, but again, the quarterback situation just dooms it for me. I want Jordan Addison. You made a great case for him earlier.
Oh, look at that. I love that. Flattery will get you everywhere. A great question coming in from Gabe. I like this one a lot. With Daniels very questionable for Monday, would you rather start Darnold tonight or wait until Monday and start Mariota if Daniels is out? I'm starting JJ tonight, so I'd have a stack. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be going with Darnold tonight just because the practice reports right now and Daniel's not practicing. They're saying he might try and practice tomorrow, but originally he was ruled week to week with ribs. Even if he does play, like, is that going to impact his mobility? I'll just take the sure thing tonight with Darnold in a very strong matchup.
All right, we'll get the next one incoming from GM Francis. GM Francis says, Tight end help. Laporta, Kincaid, Henry, half PPR. I need one pretty please. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, I think this hurts my soul. I hate having to pick against Sam Laporta, but I can't really argue with the fact that he's seeing like 3 targets a week. That Jameson Williams being out is going to be helpful in theory for Laporta, but I think I would just go Kincaid here. I think they're going to have to throw it. I think they're facing a vulnerable defense, and I'd give Kincaid the best shot at scoring.
All right, we got a question coming in, and this one's from YouTube. As Adam says, ask FFL. I need to start 1.5 PPR. Atwell, Worthy, Keon, or Demario Douglas. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Sal. What do you think? Atwell, Worthy, Keon, Demario Douglas, half PPR.
Yeah, originally I would have said Atwell if it wasn't these other Rams receivers coming back tonight, but I'm going to go with Demario Douglas. He was sick last week. He should be back to full health this week, and he saw a 30% target share in week 6 with Drake May. I'm going to be going with Douglas. He's looked solid when healthy this year.
Love it. Sarge, also in the YouTube chat, says flex pick 1. Flex pick 1. I should read that the right way. Puka, Rico, Wandell, or Khalil. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, the only case for someone other than Puka here is if this is full PPR and I can play Wandell Robinson, and I'm just looking for floor. That I might do. Other than that, if this is any other sort of format, I'm going with my 2nd-round pick. I'm playing Puka Nacua.
Well, you had 3 seconds left to spare. Anything else you want to tell the people? Look at that. Andy Behrens coming in on time. We'll get another one in. This one also from the YouTube chat. Ed150 Ed150 Arcade says, love the show, guys. Again, flattery gets you everywhere. Full PPR, B-Rob Jr., Montgomery, or Tank Dell. What do you think, Sal?
Oof, this one's actually tougher because it seems like Montgomery's healthy right now. And if that ankle is going to be healthy, like Tank Dell's a solid matchup this week, but I have to go with Montgomery. I have to believe that he's going to see 16 to 18 touches, assuming no re-injury risk here.
All right. What I know is that we will be back on Sunday morning, noon Eastern. No London games, nothing else that needs to distract you. You can just hang out with us from noon to 1. We get you caught up on absolutely everything you need to know. We get a bunch of your questions answered. We get you the latest, greatest injury news. So make sure you come back and hang out with us Sunday, all the way up to kickoff. And every Thursday, we're here, 7:30 p.m. This week coming up, we'll be in costumes, might be handing out candy. Like kids come to the door, we might answer it right in the middle of the show. You never know what's going to happen. What I know is that on behalf of everybody behind the scenes that works their tails off to make this show happen, we thank them. We thank you for watching. He's Andy Behrens. He's Sal Vetri. I'm Jason Fitz. Thanks for hanging out and watching Fantasy Football Live, presented by Ram Trucks.